The engine oil cools and lubricates the inside of the engine. There is an air filter to filter debris from entering the engine. This reduces debris and combustion deposits that gather in the oil. Some engines have an oil filter to remove debris and contaminants from the oil. For the engine to perform at peak efficiency, the oil and filters must be periodically maintained. The engine needs to be tuned up at least once every year. It is recommended to change the oil and service the air filter at least every 25 hours of running time on engines that do not have an oil filter. If the engine has an oil filter, you can go 50 hours between oil changes under normal conditions. It is best to check the oil level before you start the engine. This is a good time to inspect the oil. If the oil is black, you should change it. The conditions and environment you operate in may require oil and filters to be serviced more often. Clean the engine area before you do anything else to avoid getting contaminants into the engine. You should also clean the screen over the engine. If this is restricted, the engine will not be properly cooled. We can now drain the engine oil. Oil that is warm drains faster and more completely from the engine. You may want to start the engine for a few minutes to warm the engine oil. Stop the engine and remove the key before working on the tractor. Put the key in a safe place, away from the ignition switch. Before draining the oil, be sure the tractor is on a level surface. Remove the cap from the oil drain valve. Current Craftsman tractors are supplied with a clear hose that can be used to drain the oil. Install this hose onto the drain valve. Put the other end of the drain hose into a large container. The container needs to be large enough to hold 3 quarts. Push in on the valve and turn counterclockwise. Then pull outward about 1/4 inch. The oil will drain into the container. There is a universal tractor kit for changing oil. This kit contains 64 ounces of oil, an oil filter, an oil drain bag and tie, and a reusable oil absorbent mat. The oil change bag should be inserted into a container before draining the oil. There is a tie which can be used to securely close the oil bag. While the oil is draining, there are other things to be done. Start by checking the air filter. There are several air filters from different manufacturers. See your owner's manual for information on removing the air filter on your tractor's engine. Before removing the air filter element, clean the area around the base of the air filter. Do not allow debris or dirt to enter the area under the air filter element. Most tractor engines will have a green pre-filter. The pre-filter can be cleaned with dishwashing detergent and water. You can dry it thoroughly with paper towels. And the pre-cleaner can be reused. Remove the air filter and inspect it. This should be done at least once a month when you are using your tractor for many hours or under extreme conditions. If the rubber seal is deformed or damaged, the air filter must not be reused, as permanent damage to the engine will result. The air filter should be serviced after every second or third use. To extend the life of the air filter, you can lightly tap to remove the debris from the filter. Before you install the new air filter element, clean the areas where the rubber seal will sit against. Replace the air filter. Some engines will have another style of air filter and pre-cleaner. Install the new air filter element. Make sure the air filter cover is installed properly and securely. Some filter covers are held in place with wing nuts. Do not over-tighten the wing nuts. Do not use compressed air to blow out the filter. The filter is made up of folded paper. When the force of the compressed air hits the folds in the paper, it causes small tears that will allow dirt to pass into the engine. Dirt ingestion will severely damage an engine in only a short time. At best, the life of the engine will be cut severely. The damage is not repairable, and the engine may need replacement. This is not covered by warranty. For the purposes of this video, the engine cover has been removed. You will not need to do this to remove the spark plug. The spark plug needs to be replaced once a year. Remove the spark plug wire. To remove the spark plug, you will need a deep well 5/8 inch socket. It is best to use a spark plug socket because it has a rubber insert to protect the insulator on the spark plug. A ratchet and an extension will be needed for the socket. The spark plug is pre-gapped from the factory. Install the new spark plug. Snug the spark plug to the engine casting. Reconnect the spark plug wire. If your tractor engine has an oil filter, it should be serviced when the oil is changed. After the oil has completely drained, remove the old filter and pour the residual oil into the disposable bag or container. Prepare the new oil filter by lubricating the gasket with new 30-weight oil. You can now install the new filter. Be careful not to cross-thread the filter onto the threaded nipple. You should turn the filter until the gasket makes contact with the casing. Then 1/2 turn to tighten. Tighten by hand only. Do not use a wrench to install an oil filter. Close the valve, then remove the oil drain tube and put the yellow cap back over the end. Close the container with the old oil for proper environmentally safe disposal. Before adding oil to the engine, check your tractor's operator's manual in the product's specifications for the recommended type of oil and the oil capacity of the engine. Caution: some engines require certain specification oils. Use manufacturer's recommended oil only. Remove the oil dipstick and add about 3/4 of the recommended capacity. Insert the dipstick to check the oil level. The oil should be to the full mark on the dipstick. Add oil and recheck until the oil is at the recommended level. The tractor that has a fuel filter should have the filter replaced annually. It can become clogged, restricting the flow of fuel. Before attempting to remove the fuel filter, run the tractor until all the fuel has been consumed and the tank is empty. To begin, use pliers to release tension on the retention clamps and move the clamps away from the fuel filter. Remove the fuel filter from the fuel hoses. Caution: it is best to have a cloth in position for residual fuel that will be lost when the fuel filter is separated from the fuel hoses. Locate the arrow on the new fuel filter and install that end toward the engine carburetor. Install the other end of the fuel filter to the remaining fuel hose. Use pliers to position the fuel hose retaining clamps to lock the fuel hoses to the fuel filter. Clean any spilled fuel. Refer to your tractor's owner's manual for other maintenance that is periodically required for your tractor. The gasoline you use for your tractor needs to be fresh. Gasoline has a limited shelf life. The use of fuel stabilizers will extend the shelf life of the gasoline. This will slow and reduce the formation of gum and varnish deposits that may require carburetor replacement. The fuel stabilizer should be added to the fuel container before the fuel is pumped. This will help to evenly distribute the fuel stabilizer throughout the fuel before it is added to the tractor fuel tank.